Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review and showing you some swatches of the new Zoeva Sweet Glamour collection. Now I have to admit to you guys, this is the first time I've ever bought anything from Zoeva Cosmetics. I do own one or two of their brushes. The 228 I think it is like one of my favourite all-time brushes. But for some strange reason I've just never bought any of their makeup. I think it just happens when you're a makeup addict and you buy so much that there are obviously going to be brands that you accidentally kind of miss. But I was really drawn to this collection because of the shades. It's very spring, very pastel, very girly and very colourful, which is obviously very me. So I bought these from beautybay.com in the UK. You can also get them from Love Makeup in the UK. The eyeshadow palette, that one. The eyeshadow palette, wait, which one is it? That one. The eyeshadow palette, for the third time, is £18 and the blush palette is £13, I think. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but they are both relatively inexpensive compared to obviously a lot of the other brands which charge upwards of £20 to £30 and that sort of thing. It's sweet and girly with a nice mixture of colours. And then the blush palette is pretty much exactly the same, probably with more colours on it than the actual eyeshadow palette. So this is what the actual eyeshadow palette itself looks like. As you can see, it's a gorgeous range of very pale pastel shades and a mixture of matte eyeshadows as well as shimmer eyeshadows. So the eyeshadow palette comes in a cardboard box, which just slightly annoy me considering the other brands, Anastasia Beverly Hills, that charges such a large amount of money for their eyeshadow palettes, and they come in exactly the same packaging as this. And one thing you do have to remember is that when you pay a certain price for an eyeshadow palette or a blush palette or a highlighter palette, whatever it is, there is a percentage of that price that you're paying which actually goes into the packaging. So this being £18, just saying. But I really like the way that they've done this. It really complements the shades which are in here. Now, my thoughts of this eyeshadow palette, and bear in mind, like I said, this is the first time I've ever used Zoeva. This is not for people who like bright, vibrant shades. This is a very soft and muted and pastel kind of palette. So it does not matter how much you pile on, for example, this shade here, quite realistic, like I did. There is only a certain amount of colour payoff that you're going to be able to get with this, and that is the same with all the shades. They're very muted, they're very soft. If you are medium skin tone, you will have to work in the shades quite a bit, meaning you'll have to go backwards and forwards to the palette and apply it to your lid to build it up, and even then it will still not build up to the intensity which you may hope that it does. This shade here, Childhood Adaption. What strange names. Sweet Glamour. I don't understand how the names relate to the... Okay, whatevs. I think I'm thinking too much into it. But yeah, this shade here, Childhood Adaption. Now I'm wearing it on my lower lash line, if you can see. I worked it in probably 3-4 times. I went backwards and forwards to really build up the shade. But again, because the shades are so soft in colour and so muted, that you are limited in how much you will be able to build up. I used this shade here, Wish Fulfillment, which is a green shimmery shade, on my lid. I had to pack this on about 6-7 times for the colour to show up. It was quite patchy on me. So I'd be applying it and then a certain part of my eyelid would get more colour on it than the other part. So I'd put more on that part and then it would kind of blend away onto the other part. It's annoying. And slightly disappointing considering it's the first time I have ever tried Zoeva. I had very, very big hopes. I've heard so much about their eyeshadow brushes that I immediately assumed, wrongly, that their makeup would be reflective of the way that their eyeshadow brushes are. Little bit disappointed on that. So I find that that is the same with all of the shades, unfortunately. The matte shades, they kick up a fair bit of powder. But then what I also find is, because I used 2 shades in my crease, I used the shade Quite Realistic and this one here called Daydream, which is this purpley lilac, deep lilac shade. What I found was when I applied Quite Realistic then Daydream, the Daydream shade pretty much blended away the Quite Realistic, so I had to go back in. So if you're mixing shades together, which we all do with eyeshadows, the matte shades unfortunately don't stay on long enough. They are easily brushed away, meaning that no matter if you've got primer on, the shadow will just, if something touches it or if you rub your hand on it, it will come off. Overall, I give this eyeshadow palette, I'd probably say a 7 out of 10. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing. However, for £18, I think it's pretty good. But if it had cost a lot more money, then I would have been a lot more disappointed than I actually am. Like I said, I'm wearing this all over my eyes today. So let me just close up so you guys can actually see. As you guys can see, I came up with a really nice spring pastel sort of look. It's not that it's horrendous, it's just that it could have been a lot better. And I am actually using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Aurora Glow Kit on my inner tear duct and my brow bone, because these shades unfortunately were just not strong enough to be able to give me a pow kind of tear duct shade and a pow metallic brow bone shade. So anyway, so altogether you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matte shades, and then you get 5 shimmery shades. So there is a nice variety of shades, definitely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swatch it on my hand and show it to you guys. Bear in mind that a swatch with your hand is very different to a swatch with a brush, but unfortunately I feel that 1 or 2 of these shades won't show up as much because of the reasons that I have mentioned. But I am going to go in with one swipe just so that you guys can see the intensity and payoff of these shades. So this one here is called Fuzzy Haze. This one here is called Fantasy Principle. This one here is called Quite Realistic. This one is called Object to Subject. This one is called Daydream. This one is called Childhood Adaptation. This one is called Wish Fulfillment. This one is called Artistic Creation. This one is called Profusion. This one is called Spirits Held Desire. So that's all the swatches of the eyeshadows. As you guys can see, they're just not, they're not pigmented enough. It's a real disappointment actually, and quite a few of them. I normally, when I do finger swatches, I have to obviously wipe off the shadows off of my hands so that I can go in with clean swatches. I didn't even have to do that even once because they just so easily just rub off. This one on the end, this Daydream, if I just go like this, it's pretty much gone. So, yeah, disappointing Zoeva sauce. I mean, I am going to use this because I do like the palette, and I will definitely mix it in with other shadows and other brands and that sort of thing, because that's what I normally do when I'm disappointed with something, but I still know that I can get a decent amount of use out of it. Now, just purely for the purposes of this video and for comparison, I've got the Pastel Goth palette by Kat Von D. These shades are pastel too, but they are intense. Their colour payoff is amazing. They blend beautifully. Now, these did blend beautifully, but you pretty much blend it until it's gone. It's like, you know, wiping your car. It's just like, whoosh, 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 gone. This one, you can wipe it and wipe it and wipe it, if that's what you want to call it, blend it, but the colour will still remain. These colours just blend away into nothing. So if you really want to get a pastel eyeshadow palette, even though this one is only matte, I would definitely recommend this above the Zoeva one. This one has very many similar shades, like Clementine, Meow, Dope, and Doom. I mean, Doom, if I put that next to Childhood Adaptation, okay, yeah, they are slightly different in colour, but look, the colour payoff is intense. So yeah, so that's why I would say that I would personally give this a 7 out of 10. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So next is the blush palette, and it comes with 2 blushes and a highlighter, and it says superior pigmentation, easy to blend with vitamin E. And let me just show you what it looks like. Looks gorgeous. Looks like a lovely summer's day. Now, the palette definitely performs a lot better than the eyeshadow palette. So if you really wanted something from this collection, this would be the thing to probably go for. I find the blushes to be very pigmented. I am wearing this one in the middle called Ideal Love on my face today. Bear in mind that if you have very dark skin tone, you may find this one turn slightly ashy on you. It was just the right kind of pink to show up on me. I did notice some ashiness trying to peek through, but then I was like, you're not. and it didn't. It listened to me. And then this shade here, which is called Sweet Escape, very vibrant, strong pink. And this one here, which is called Interpretation of Dreams, is a white icy highlighter, and that is what I'm wearing right now. Like I said, the colour payoff is intense. The highlighter itself, this was just one swipe. It's a very intense full-on highlight. Yes, it does emphasize the pores. It emphasizes the pores a lot more, I've noticed, than other brands do. Again, so that is something to bear in mind. Let me just kind of get up close. You may be able to see some of my pores a little bit more than you normally can, but that's just so that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. But the shade itself is really pretty. Both the powders are quite powdery as well, but they don't kick up too much powder. They're fairly soft, but I wouldn't call them finely milled. I'd actually call them more cheap blushes. I know that's a really bad way of saying it, Zoeva. I'm really sorry, but that's the only way I can describe it. I just don't find it has that luxury kind of feel to like MAC blushes, for example, Tarte blushes, which are some of my favourite blushes to this day. Makeup Geek blushes, I find that the pigmentation is a lot more. To get this to show up, I had to go onto my cheeks about 5-6 times, which to me kind of defeats the purpose of applying a blush. I generally only want to apply 1 or 2 layers. One layer, I normally do the first one quite softly so that I can build up the intensity, and then I go in with a little bit more depending on how I want to touch it up. So I would still give this a 9 out of 10 because I do believe that the colour payoff is still pretty good. Actually, I might have to downgrade that. Let's bring that down to an 8 out of 10 because I feel like maybe 9 is just giving it a little bit too much. I don't like highlighters that emphasise the skin, the pores, because I have got textured skin. I have got pores, open pores and that sort of thing, so I don't really like ones that are too much. I don't find it glittery and I don't find it gritty either. I just kind of find it meh. You know, does that make sense? So I'm going to show you some swatches now. So this is the darkest one called Sweet Escape, which is a bright pink. This is Ideal Love, which is a pale baby pink. And this is Interpretation of Dreams, which is like an icy ivory white highlighter. So that is all the swatches of the blush palette. As you can see, not very strong. I mean, from here where I'm sitting, you can see the highlight, but can you see the blushes? Barely. So as I said, I had to go in quite a few times for the colour to actually really show up to the intensity that I wanted it to show up. Oh, my lipstick is Anastasia Beverly Hills Poet liquid lipstick, which I love, by the way. It's one of my newbies from IMATS. So that's it for my review of the Sweet Glamour collection from Zoeva. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you planning on getting this? I know it's pretty new. What do you think? Let me know about any other Zoeva palettes. Are there some that I really, really need to have? Or do I not need them purely because I've got so many other eyeshadow palettes that perform so much better? Let me know below. Other than that, I hope you guys are fabulous. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!